Hello and welcome to another episode of Battle Ready. Nice. Where today, one of the things that makes Warhammer different than other hobbies, not all other hobbies.
It's run by Games Workshop and they like them.
Well, that is unique. But not all other hobbies, but a lot of hobbies, once you have your stuff, once you've got your skiing equipment, right? Once you've got your athletic gear, whatever it is, then you just go and do the thing, right? You just go and do the thing. But in miniature wargaming, Warhammer in particular, once you get you buy your box of models,
build them.
You got a whole lot of hobbying to do before you can play. You've got to build. You've got to paint. You don't have to paint, but you don't even have to buy the models, right? You just can use your quarters or whatever.
That's a heinous crime.
But really, you should build if you want the best experience, I guess. You should build. You should paint. Maybe you have terrain, right? Maybe you get battle mats. There's all sorts of stuff you can do. And then on top of that, there's a lot of, so there's hobby that's, let's call it semi-required, right? It's required if you want the best experience. But of course, you can play with whatever you want, right? But then on top of that, there's stuff that people get into like lore videos, right? There's stuff that people get into that's all hobby adjacent. And so the question came up, we were talking about it, is how do you allocate your time between actually playing the game, sort of the main reason for most people to get into Warhammer, right?
Rather than owning the cool toys.
Well, yeah, because some people just like the cool toys. Some people just like the lore, for sure. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. So I think some of this video is you're gonna have to season to taste, right? Mm-hmm. If you like lore stuff and you're not super into models, well, your allocation of time is gonna be a little bit different. But for people who enjoy the game, for people for whom the game is primary, not sole, but primary, how do you allocate your time between playtime and hobby time? Not that hobby time is bad, it's just the stuff you do
to do the thing.
To do the thing, right? It's the prep work, it's the enhancements, it's all that to make the playtime better. How do you allocate that time? And then, so Drake, how do you do it?
I allocate the week to hobby, the weekend to play.
The week to hobby. Why that?
Because I feel like with the week, you're not going to have an open 3-hour session with a buddy.
I think that's a big part of it. So let me ask you this. Let's say you had a friend that came over every day with you after school and you never had homework, so you don't have to worry about it.
What is that? Heresy.
Right? And you could get in easy a spearhead game, and maybe sometimes a full game.
If
right?
you really try.
Or maybe like you did 1,500 points or something like that, so you could get it in. So now you could play during the week. Would that change your allocation?
Yes, but maybe like while he's taking his turn during his movement phase, I just have like a little side painting desk.
Yeah, I don't think that would happen.
I'm painting my pigs.
I think you would want to see what's going on in the game. But I think you're right. I think that would change the allocation because I think what you're really saying is when you have playtime, you do that.
Yeah.
And when you don't have time to play,
you do the hobby thing.
You do the hobby. And I think there's something to that because getting out some models and painting, you can do, it doesn't take as long or it doesn't have to take as long. You could take a long time, right? If you've got the time and you want to do it. It doesn't require another person there, right? And so it's in a lot of ways easier to set aside the time to paint or to build than it is to set aside the time to play because you need to coordinate more things, right? I think that's true. What about like lore books and stuff? You like lore books?
I do.
So where does that fit in?
Bedtime.
Bedtime. So when it's even harder to accumulate. Yeah. So when you can't paint because you're supposed to be in bed, you can still read.
Yes.
So what I'm hearing from you is you've got sort of like a tier system where playing is the best, and then everything else you just slot it in where you can. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I think there's something to that. But I do think that let's assume it's the summer.
No.
And you've got as much time to do Warhammer as you want.
Excellent.
How many hours? Let's say you've got. Let's just make it easy. You've got 20 hours in the week that can be 100% dedicated to any kind of hobby stuff you have. How would you allocate those hours?
6 hours to playing, so we can do 3,000 point game, 2,000 point games.
Out of 50? Oh, what did I say? 50? Oh no, I said 20.
Yeah.
Out of 26. Okay.
Probably 5 hours to reading.
Okay.
And everything else to like building and painting.
Really? So you would have playing being the minority of time?
Yes. No, it's reading. Reading is the minority.
No, you said. Oh, I guess
reading's 5.
One less hour. But that's that means almost half your time is building and painting.
A little over.
A little under.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Because you like that the best?
Because I feel like the more toys I can get onto the table, the smaller my pile of shame is, because it's gotten really big.
Your pile of shame has grown.
Although few of it is actual Warhammer models.
That's true. You've gotten some models from other systems and other things. They look really cool.
Roman Legion.
So
Roman boys.
that is true. It's interesting. If I had my way,
if you had your way,
I would dedicate like 95% of the time to playing.
Yeah.
I really like the playing. In fact, if it wasn't for the playing, I wouldn't do
any of it.
Anything else. Maybe I would read a book or two every so often. But even then, probably not. It's really about the playing. And for me, everything else is in support of that. So the 5% that goes to other stuff would just be because that makes the 95 better for me.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's all about getting your plays in. And when you can't get a play in, I sort of feel like it makes hobby time worse for me. Because if I can get a play in, then when I have to paint, because I don't enjoy painting, I'm thinking to myself, oh, okay, this is going to look good on the table. Oh, I can't wait till I cast this endless spell.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I can't wait till this scenery is blah, blah, blah.
We'll never cast that endless spell.
Yeah, that's true. But the hope is there. The hope. But
that's why you buy the endless spells.
That's because you're going to unbind them. But the hope is there. Whereas when I didn't get to play that week, for whatever reason, we had a busy week. Then when I go to paint, I'm like, this sucks. I hate this.
You say it.
This is so different. I'm not even going to get to play these models.
Now, what you do then is you stay up unhealthily late playing Spearhead so that you're recharged.
If I stay up unhealthily late, I will not be recharged in anything. When I was young, I used to be able to stay up all night super easy. That ability left me. That is not a thing I can do so much anymore.
You leveled up one too many times.
I leveled down, it feels like, when it comes to staying up late. But I think that for me, the playing is the priority. And so whenever I'm looking at how am I going to spend my hobby time, what I'm looking at is, okay, what are the dates that I can do this? Now, it's mostly you and me, so that scheduling part is easier.
Saturday.
But yeah, it's usually Saturday morning. But sometimes we're doing stuff Saturday morning, right? So it's like, okay, we got to play the night before, Friday or we got to make time on Sunday, or we got to do, and so that's where I put all my effort. And then when I can't play, I do other stuff almost as I like building, so I'll do that. But like painting, I just sort of do it as I'm doing other things.
Like a pastime.
Yeah, it's like a time passer. But if I get the opportunity to do almost anything else, I'm doing that other thing. But sometimes, because of different information, different circumstances, I'm stuck in a certain place and I have to have to listen. I'm in a meeting or something. I can do that and then turn my chair around and paint while I'm listening. So there's times when I can do that. But yeah, I guess I'm sort of like you in that the other hobby aspects, I sort of fit them in as they're available, but really it's all in service of the big thing, the playing. So for me, and maybe for you, you tell me if I'm wrong, if we had an opportunity to sort of balance our time, everything is in service to the playing.
Yes.
And then
except for learning, that's just for
if playing can't happen, then you do the other stuff, right? Then you hobby so that the next time you play, it's going to be good.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. What if, let's say you had your Iron Jaws army. Okay. And maybe you've got a full 2,000 points, more than 2,000 points.
Like 300.
And let's say you were like, for a birthday, maybe I'll get more Ardboys. And then for Christmas, maybe I'll get more Brutes. Or
I need more Brutes.
Like you were collecting them over time as you go, right? But mostly it's finished. You're not like desperately looking for a model, right? So let's say you have that. But for whatever reason,
Oh no.
you know, a month happens where you can't play. School's too hard, or I'm out of town, or whatever it is, and there's just
Panic.
like no opportunity for play.
Bring the friends.
Would you continue to build and paint at about the same level, or would you be like, I'll put that on the shelf and not worry about it until playing starts?
See, I don't know because we need to figure that out.
I don't want to figure that out because that means I wouldn't be able to play. But
go on a business trip.
Nope, not doing that. Not unless I'm taking all our models.
No,
I wouldn't do that.
You'd never.
It's too dangerous.
The whole plane.
Yeah, all the overhead compartments are models. Yeah, and the reason I ask is for me, like I said, if I wasn't able to play regularly, I think I would find it very difficult to stay motivated. Mm-hmm. I think if I was only playing, you know, once every couple months, let's say, so I'm getting in like 6 to 10 games a year. Well, let's say 3 to 6 games a year.
Panic.
Then it's like, okay, if I'm only going to play 3 to 6 games, well, maybe I play twice each time, but I'm only playing a few games a year. Gosh, it would be very hard to stay motivated to get more models. And I think what I would do too is right now we've got a bunch of armies, and I like it because of the variety, but I don't think I would like the variety so much if I only got to play a couple times a year, because I would be playing, you know, every time it would feel new. It would feel different, right? So I think I would have a hard time doing the other hobby stuff if it wasn't for the playing. The playing is what keeps me motivated for the other stuff.
I feel like sometimes if I'm reading a book on it, I might want to do it.
Yeah, that doesn't happen to me so much, but I've heard people say that where, you know, if you're reading a cool book and it inspires you and you're like, man, I want to get this model. I'm reading the Kragnos book and I want to get a Kragnos, right?
We have one of those.
We do have Kragnos. I could totally see that. I don't think it has the same effect on me just because I feel like the lore's cool. And sometimes if I'm gonna be painting already, reading the lore book does make it easier. Where it's like, ooh, this is cool. I'm painting one of these guys.
Lore book.
I'm reading a Drekkie Flint one right now.
Yes.
And before that, I read God Eater's Son, which was really good. I liked God Eater's Son a lot.
Now I'm doing a Kragnos.
Yes. You have to tell me how that is. If it's good, I'll read it too.
8.
If it's only A, I'm not going to read it. But yeah, I definitely think so. Well, let us know in the comments your thoughts. How do you allocate your hobby time? Do you like to emphasize play as much as possible like we do? And so, for some people, it's going to be more possible than others, right? Maybe you can only play a little bit at a time, so you emphasize it, but you just end up painting more. Or do you sort of split your time between the two of them? You're like, I like them both evenly, so I'll paint sometimes and I'll play sometimes. On a Saturday that I could be playing, I could play, I'm going to paint. Or maybe you're the other way and you think, you know what, playing is fine. I'll play. I
like the cool toys.
But I would rather just have cool display minis, and I like to paint because it's, you know, meditative and it helps me out. Man, playing's okay. We would love to know what most people feel like when it comes to dividing your hobby time. Yeah. Any final thoughts?
Yeah.
All right. Well, this has been another episode of Battle Ready.
Ready.
There you go.
There it is.
Thanks so much for watching.